three stanzas together. Because, just follow me. Puranam etang atula Netang ajyatanang iva Nindanti tunni bhasinang Nindanti bahubhasinang Mittabaninam pinindanti Natti loke anindito Nachahu nacha bhavisati Nachetarahi vijyati Ekantang nindito poso Ekantang vapasangito So we stop here and explain. First I had to tell the background of the sayings of the Buddha. Why the Buddha had to utter these words. There was a disciple or the devotee of the Buddha, his name was Atula. He was very keen to learn the Dhamma. So what he did, he went to one of his disciples, the Buddha's disciples, and requested him to preach the Dhamma. At that time, he was observing silence, recluded, no talk. So he waited for a short while, no preaching. He was disappointed, then went to Venerable Sariputta. You know Venerable Sariputta, isn't it? The chief disciples of the Buddha, appointed as the one who has highest wisdom, Sariputta. The Abhidhamma, the deep aspect of his teaching, or the psychological, metaphysical interpretations taught to him by the Buddha. Later he explained to the other disciples. So when Atula requested Venerable Sariputta to preach the Dhamma, he gave a sermon, is so deep he couldn't understand anything. Again he got fed up and went to Venerable Ananda. You know Venerable Ananda, isn't it? The Buddha's personal attendant. He was very famous for maintaining a very good memory. The teachings of the Buddha for more than 20 years, I think, he maintained in memory. And when he was requested to give a talk or the Dhamma, he gave very brief introduction. He could not satisfy. Then he came to the Buddha and complained. First I went to that particular monk, he did not want to talk. Then I approached Venerable Sariputta, I could not understand what he preached. when I went to Venerable Ananda, he gave me very brief introduction, not enough for me. So I really cannot understand what is wrong with them. Then the Buddha had to utter this. This is a very important advice for all of us. This is the meaning. Meaning of the first stanza. This, O Atula, is an old saying. It is not one of today only. They blame those who sit silent. They blame those who speak too much. Those who speaking little too, they blame. There is no one who is not blamed in this world. This is the sayings of the Buddha. So this advice is very important for us, because we always complain. People criticize us, blame us, accuse, and condemn, ridicule, although we do not do any harm. This advice is very important for all of us, how to maintain peace in our mind without changing our attitude or our service after listening to others what they say. If we are going to listen to others, we won't be able to maintain, to carry on our good work. Always criticism, if not blame, come to those who work for others, not for those who do not do any work. I always give a simple sayings in Sanskrit language. I think you can remember. There is no harm of repeating, because there is a very good lesson for us to learn. In Sanskrit language, it says, Paratha charyaya phalanti vriksha. Trees produce fruits for the sake of others. Trees never enjoy fruits. But just because of these fruits, poor trees have to suffer. People go and throw stones, break branches, shake the tree, and tree has to suffer because of fruits. There are so many other trees, never produce any fruit, people never disturb them. Remember, when you come to do some service to others, always people pass remarks. Some are jealous, some are narrow-minded, some cannot understand, some cannot tolerate. Just say something to condemn or ridicule, to accuse, to blame. So you must have courage to continue your noble work without paying attention to others, what they say. If you think you are right, if you know that you are doing good thing, good work, good service, you should not stop anything. So, another line, Paratha charyaya vahanti nadya. Rivers carries water, overflowing, for the benefit of others. Plant life, living beings, everybody enjoy this water, but river never enjoy water. Paratha charyaya dhuvanti gava. Cows produce milk. Cows never drink milk. But all the others enjoy milk. Paratha charyaya satanghi jivana. The main purpose of living, of understanding people, is to do some service to others. That is the purpose of life. Understanding people always enjoy by serving others, supporting others, by doing something to release their sufferings and worries and problems and fears and disturbances. They enjoy that happiness. This is the nature or the character of understanding people. Only narrow-minded people, ignorant people, get fed up with this kind of criticisms, accusations. They give up, they stop. So I always give a very simple parable for this. A good driver who wants to avoid accident drive his or her motor car very carefully to avoid accident. Suddenly, another reckless driver come and bang his or her motor car. After that, that person starts to think, what is the big idea of taking precaution? I try to avoid accident, but others come and bang me. In future, I am also going to die like this person. It's exactly like this. So, you cannot correct the whole world according to your wish, your will, your way of life, your idea. They have their own way of life. But you must know how to maintain your dignity, your good qualities, your virtues, your services, without changing just because of wicked people or narrow-minded people or ignorant people. That is what the Buddha is trying to mention here. Now let us take the Buddha, such a great, compassionate teacher, who had supreme enlightenment and wisdom, who has sacrificed, who has dedicated his whole life for the sake of others, to enlighten others, to pave the way, to show the correct path, without any ulterior motive, without expecting anything in return for his own benefit. He sacrificed his kingdom. He sacrificed his wife and the child and the property. He sacrificed all his worldly pleasures, enjoyment, for the sake of others, to serve others. Finally, what happened to him? He had so many enemies who could not tolerate his services. People started to condemn him, accused him, blame him. So many allegations against him. But he had the courage to face all of them without showing any emotion or anger or any discrimination. He said, Aham nago sangame tapato patitam. I am just like an elephant in between, in the middle of a battlefield. When two groups are fighting, shooting, I am in the middle. Both sides, people attack me, this side and the other side. But I never run away from the battlefield, because I came here to settle this problem, but not to run away from the battlefield. That is the Buddha's attitude. Once, when the Buddha and his disciples visited a town, there was some sort of very hot issue. People started to blame, accuse the Buddha and his disciples. The Buddha was keeping quiet, but some of those disciples who were not used to this kind of criticisms and accusation could not tolerate. Then they suggested, why not we go somewhere else? The Buddha asked, why? Here people always blame, accuse, complain, condemn. All right. To avoid this, we can go to another place. So what guarantee is there that there won't be problem there in that new place? No guarantee. When people started to condemn and blame and accuse us in that place also, then what are we going to do? Then we'll go to another place. In that new place also, do you think we will be free from criticism, accusation, blames? No. Then the Buddha says, no. We should not run away. We must have courage and understanding to face these challenges. Try to overcome, try to settle on the same spot without running away from this place. Because we know we are right. If we are wrong, then there is no harm of running away. If we know we are right, we should not run away. Face. Then people come to know later that they are wrong, we are right. On another occasion, when people started to criticize and blame, allegations were spread all over the country. The Buddha and his disciples are like this. And what did the Buddha say to his disciples when they complain? You also go and scold them. When they scold you, then they ask how to scold. We do not know how to scold them. Then the Buddha says in Pali language, Abhutavadi nirayang upet. You scold like this. That means, the meaning is, those who tell lies go to hell. That is the way of scolding. So when they scolded, they say, Abhutavadi nirayang upeti. Those who tell lies go to hell. Then they stop scolding. This is the reaction. Without arousing, without retaliating, without fighting, gentle way, respectable way, we can overcome our problems. Then Buddha was condemned by Brahmins and Jainas, the followers of other religions. Criticized very badly. First thing, for giving full freedom to women to enter into the holy order. First time in the human history, a religious teacher who has given full freedom without any discrimination for ladies to enter into the holy order as Buddhist nuns with full authority to conduct all the religious services. Even here, this he has done 2,500 years ago. But today, education is so advanced, scientific knowledge is so advanced, ladies are also educated today. Those days ladies were not educated because they were not given the opportunity to study. But even then, the Buddha has given this freedom. But other religions, religious authorities are still fighting, struggling, reluctant to give this full freedom to women to enter into the holy order. You can see the difference. Then, when they could not tolerate what they have done, the Brahmins who enter into the holy order as monks introduced their views into the teachings of the Buddha and included into the teaching as the Buddha says, their own idea. I can mention the name of one particular book, Anguttara Nikaya. It is mentioned the Buddha says like this. What is that? One day, Ananda, his attendant, disciple, came and asked, why there are no ladies here in this country as justice or judges? Why only men? Then the Buddha said, Ananda, ladies are not capable enough to do that because they are narrow-minded. They are jealous. They cannot come to any conclusion unbiasedly. They are biased, emotional. Therefore, they are not suitable to become judges or justice. Do you believe the Buddha can say like this? I never believe it. I never believe the Buddha said this. Because there are many occasions where the Buddha says, the man must understand that man is not the only wise person. Woman also wise. Naso sabbesu thanesu puriso hoti pandito itthepi panditavanti. Women also wise. Another occasion, and the king was worrying when he heard his queen has given birth to a baby girl. The king had sour face in front of the Buddha. Then the Buddha asked, why? What is wrong with you? Just now I heard my queen has given birth to a baby girl, but I was expecting a boy. Then the Buddha said, why do you worry about that? There he said, do you know, sometimes women are better than men. He used this word. Women are better than men. Then he said, do you know, the ruler of a country, given birth by a lady, nurtured by a lady, looked after, bring up, educated by a woman. So why do you worry? Why do you think women have low mentality and women are useless? The teacher who has said earlier, do you think after that he can say, oh, women are not capable to become a judges? If he has said this, I don't accept the Buddha is enlightened one. Because today there are prime ministers, there are presidents, there are ministers, even Muslim countries also, prime ministers, judges. Then the Buddha is wrong if he has said like this. These are the work done by Brahmins to spoil the Buddha's name. There are such teaching here and there. They induce these things into the teachings of the Buddha from time to time. That is why the Buddha also given this advice for us, not to accept anything or everything what is recorded in a holy book, in a religious book. You also must use your common sense and understanding, not to become slaves to any holy books. You also can use your intelligence, sense of reasoning and understanding He's a great teacher like this. But he was blamed and accused by so many others. Again he was accused for giving a place for those low caste people. In India, this is a terrible issue. There is no another country where people condemn low caste people. Low caste people cannot take even a bucket of water from their well. They say they dirty their well. Low caste people cannot touch anything what they eat, they throw it. And even women also not allowed to touch anything what they eat, Brahmin. They say they are dirty. The Buddha had this courage to accommodate them into a holy order as monks and nuns. As scavengers, coolies, who belong to low caste. He ordained them and allowed kings and the ministers to come and worship them as holy people. Because of this, many people were very angry with Buddha for giving such high position for the low caste people. Again, a young lady, pretending that she was pregnant because of the Buddha, and spread the news all over the town. You know, the Buddha is responsible for this. When the Buddha was preaching, one day she came and challenged. You are preaching like an innocent man, but you have forgotten me that you are responsible for this in front of others. Then the people, because they do not know. He never knew that Buddha is like that. Buddha kept quiet. He did not utter even one word. Then what happened? This lady, using so many layers and layers and layers of clothing, pretending that she is pregnant, Sapra, the king of the Deva, came to know this incident. Transformed into a tiniest rat, and slowly came and cut all the bundles and everything dropped in front of them. Then people started to beat this poor woman. The Buddha had to save her. See how they tried to spoil the names of the Buddha, persuaded by the followers of other religions to spoil the Buddha's name. Another young lady, Sundari, her name was Sundari, was murdered and carried her dead body and dropped in the Jetavana monastery where the Buddha lived, and spread the news. The Buddha and the monks molested this young lady and murdered. Yes, they saw the dead body there in the temple. When the king wanted to investigate, he went on investigating by sending his special branch all over the country. They came to know this is the work done by the followers of other religions. Religious competition was very, very strong at that time in India, because the Buddha has gone against those traditional religious beliefs and practices, introduced very rational, very practical, very reasonable religious way of life. Others could not tolerate. Then the king could manage to catch the culprit and punish them. Another allegation for housewives. Many husbands slowly walk out, even without telling their wife, have entered into the holy order as monks. Then housewives started to curse, accuse the Buddha. We have to become widows because of the Buddha, and nobody to attend to us. Our husbands have run away and become monks, accused the Buddha. This news also spread all over the country. Then, those who have gone to the extremes in their religious practices accused the Buddha, saying that he and his disciples eat anything whatever people come and offer, whether vegetable or meat or fish or anything whatever people offer, he accepts. But he never asked, he never ordered. But those who have gone to the extremes criticize. The Buddha eats meat, he eats fish, he is not a holy man, accuse him. Then the Buddha has given 3 conditions for his disciples. You can accept anything, whether meat or fish, without asking, without ordering. But if you come to know that the people have slaughtered any chicken or any living beings purposely for you, you should not accept. If you suspect that these people have slaughtered any living being for you, you should not accept. If you heard that people said that they have slaughtered this living being for you, you should not accept. These are the 3 conditions. If your mind is free from these 3 things, you can accept anything whatever people come and offer as food. That is why people say it's a liberal religion. Another thing, there were very few Buddhists at that time, but their custom is whenever a religious man comes to their house asking some food, they give. Whether they are Buddhists or Hindus, Brahmins, makes no difference. So whatever they have prepared, whether meat or fish or anything, they come and offer. So the monks cannot choose. They cannot say, oh, we cannot accept this one. Otherwise there is nothing for them to eat. So for convenience sake, the Buddha did not restrict it. When Devadatta requested the Buddha to enforce it as a law, Buddha says, no, it is unfair. It is up to them to decide. Those who don't like to eat, they can go ahead, no harm at all. Those who like to eat whatever they receive, they are at liberty to eat what they receive. This is the Buddhist attitude. For that also, Buddha had to face so many problems. Here you can understand, when a person is trying to do some service, trying to do good, there will be more enemies, more criticism, more blames, but must have courage to face this. This is the nature of the wicked world. Why Jesus had to die earlier? He tried to do some service to mankind. They killed him because of his attitude. What happened to Socrates? First time in Europe, he tried to introduce democracy. The Roman Empire could not tolerate, could not understand him. He was killed, punishing him, giving him death penalty because of his service. Why Mahatma Gandhi in India, who introduced non-violence, ahimsa. When Hindus and Muslims were killing, the Mahatma Gandhi in between advised both parties not to kill. One fanatic, a Hindu, Brahmins could not tolerate, shot it, because he did not support only Hindu, although he was a Hindu. He advised both not to kill. Because of his principle, he died. But great people are not scared to die for the sake of principle. To them, principle is more important than this dirty body. This dirty body we drop here and go away. But the principle that we upheld never dies. Follow. Mold our next life. Support our next life. But this dirty body never follow with us. So we should not surrender our principle for the sake of this dirty body. That is why they were not scared. What happened to Abraham Lincoln in America? He had to face untimely death because he wanted to do some service to black people. And what happened to Edward Kennedy? He had to die early, also because of his principle. All the great people in this world, Martin Luther King, a Christian minister, had to die because of his services. Great people always willing to sacrifice their life for the sake of their good principle. That is called understanding. Here the Buddha tried to console us. You should not get fed up or frustration or disappointment when you heard that others criticize you, condemn you, accuse you, if you have not done any harm. Because many people cannot understand our way of life, our purpose, our mentality. They are waiting to pass remarks and say something. Do you know, this is the first time that I announced, the number of anonymous letters that I received. I have a very good collection. One day I can print as a book. Using dirty, vulgar, wicked language, attacking me, criticizing me, accusing me, blaming me. All those letters are there. I can read some of them, but I never get fed up. I never stop my good work. I get more courage. The more criticism come to me, the Buddha says, the more blames come to me, the more kindness come out from me. So they cannot stop that. So we must understand this is the nature of the human mentality. Very few people can appreciate others' service, but many others are waiting to find out loopholes and weaknesses to pass remarks and criticize. So, this saying, I repeat, how the Buddha tried to console Atula. Oh Atula, this is an old saying. What is that? It is not one of today only. They blame those who sit silent, those who keep quiet without talking also, people criticize. This person doesn't talk. And another person talk little bit, doesn't talk very much. Also they criticize, he doesn't talk very much. Another person, chakamanya, criticize and condemn, he talk rubbish and nonsense and criticize. Then how to do? And there was a monk, I mentioned this in one of my publications. One day early morning he heard this chief monk was scolding the attendants in the temple for sleeping too much. He said, these people are sleeping even when the tortoise come out from their, the pond. This man was waiting to catch a turtle for a medicine. He tried, he could not gain. He heard, oh, this is the time that turtle come out from the water. Straight away he went, oh, he said, a lot of tortoises have come out. He got hold of one or two and cut and prepare the medicine and prepare one curry for this monk also, in appreciation. And told him, because of you, this morning, I could manage to catch this turtle. So I thought better to come and offer something for me. But this monk is a very innocent, very holy monk. He felt so sad. This poor turtle had to die because of my word. So in future, I am not going to talk. Because of my mouth, this poor turtle had to die. Now he is keeping quiet, doesn't talk or anything. One day when he was sitting outside, he saw one blind man was walking all alone, and there was a well. Straight away he is going toward this well. Now he cannot say anything, hey, don't go that way, there's a well. Then he said, it is difficult to live in this world either by observing silence or by talking. This is the nature of the world. We must know what to talk, how to talk, time to talk. So observing silence is not a great virtue, Buddha says. In one of his discourses, he says, only foolish people keep quiet without talking, because they haven't got anything to talk. Those who have knowledge, those who have ideas, they can contribute something to guide others, to advise others. They must talk. Simply by keeping quiet, they don't do any service. Buddha is a practical religious teacher. He did not follow all those traditional beliefs and practices, but even today there are many people who respect those who do not observe, who observe silence. You say, oh, he doesn't talk, he's a very holy man, he doesn't talk. Then the next one, there never was, there never will be, no, just there exists now, a person who is wholly blamed or wholly praised. This is another good example. You cannot find a single human being, even in the past, or in the future, or today, who is wholly blamed or wholly praised. In each and every person, there are some goodness, there are some weakness. Nobody here in this world who is completely perfect or completely wicked or bad. An example given even in Sanskrit language. It's a very beautiful saying you can find. Dosopyasti gunopyasti nirdoso naiva jayate. We cannot find any human beings in this world who is completely correct or completely wrong. Never. Assume there's a wicked, cruel, dangerous man, but in him or in her also there are some good qualities. At the same time, there are very holy, very understanding, very learned people, very cultured, very civilized, but in them also we can find some weaknesses. Now let us take some religious teachers who introduced different religions. They had deep understanding, knowledge, vast knowledge. when you study their personal character, you can see some weaknesses. Either hot-tempered, or egoism, or emotional expression, you can find in this. Only teacher who is free from all these weaknesses is called Vijja Charana Sampanno, one name that is given to the Buddha. When you pay homage, you recite this, Vijja Charana Sampanno, one who has knowledge and conduct.
But when you compare so many other great philosophers, scientists, teachers, religious teachers in this world, they too had wonderful knowledge and wisdom. When you consider, observe their character and behavior, either anger or jealousy or egoistic ideas or some emotional ideas in them, very difficult to find a person who can maintain both equally. So here example is given. Sukhumalasya padmasya nalo bhavati karkata. Lotus flower is so soft, very lovely, very tender. Everybody likes. But nalo, the stalk, bhavati karkata, thorns, very rough. The stalk is very rough but thorn, but the flower is so nice and tender. The human life is also like this lotus flower. Got wonderful knowledge, wisdom, understanding, education, but in personal character there are some rough and tough attitude or weaknesses. Unless that person attained higher stage of sainthood or perfection, then after that no more weaknesses, no more emotional feelings. Amongst all those human beings who lived in this world, only one person is free from emotional feelings. Even Arhantas, after attaining perfection, they too had emotional feelings. The Buddha is the only person who is free from emotion. He has no emotion. What is emotion? We cry because of our emotions. We laugh because of our emotions. We enjoy, we get thrilled because of emotion. And the Buddha, he never laughed. Very strange, isn't it? He always shows our face. Never laugh like that. He said it is childish. The other way of laughing is, in the eyes of such highly intellectual, is childish, they say. And never cry for anything, because no emotion. Mind is completely free from emotion. So whatever education we had, whatever knowledge and wisdom we had, but when the emotion aroused, we cannot tolerate. We cry, we laugh, we jump, we enjoy. The Buddha said that is a childish way of attitude. So one day we will reach up to that higher stage. So this advice he gives by considering all these things very carefully for us to learn how to balance our mind. So he says, amongst ordinary human beings, we never had a single human being who is completely wrong or completely correct. In future also there never will be such human beings. Even today also you cannot find anybody. Now you take me as a religious man, as a good man, as an educated man, as a man who does some service to others. But I know I have human weaknesses. I try to control them, suppress them, but sometimes emotion aroused. When that emotion is aroused, then we shout or we get angry, and sometimes jealousy also appears in the mind, then immediately we suppress and control through our understanding. But others cannot control it. That is their will. When the anger flare up, or jealousy or emotion flare up, we know immediately calm and bring down. But many others keep for years and throughout their life that anger. That is the weakness. So first we know it is dangerous, it is harmful, it harms us as well as others. So by knowing this situation, we have to cultivate, we have to culture our mind to handle it carefully. Otherwise, mind can play havoc, can destroy everything, our own life, as well as others, and the whole world. Human mind can destroy the whole world. One man can destroy the whole world today. See, that is development of scientific development. So, human mind is solely responsible. Mano pubbang gama dhamma mano setta mano maya. First sayings of the Dhammapada, the Buddha. He says, human mind is responsible for all the good things that exist in this world as well as the bad things. Human mind. And that by following this advice of the Buddha, United Nations, when they want to draft the Constitution, preamble to the Constitution, they included this saying, human mind creates war. The same human mind can bring peace by following that sayings of the Buddha. This is the nature of the mind. That is why we need a religion. Our education, our scientific knowledge, our worldly knowledge, and our worldly pleasure, our property, these things cannot control the human mind. By frightening, threatening, punishing, we cannot control, train human mind. When we punish people or animals, because of fear, they keep quiet. But when the chances arise, they don't keep quiet. Because no training, no discipline in their mind, because of fear, they keep quiet. I have told you, I used to visit Kudu jail, not as a culprit, as a visiting justice appointed by the government to go and talk to those inmates in the jail. Their grievances and problems. Discuss with them, come and report in the book. Their complaints about food, or whether they beat them or discriminated them, or this kind of problems. So I met so many young people there. And I asked, why? What have you done to come here? Then they said, drug trafficking and gangsterism, robbery, all those things we have committed. So we are here for 3 years, 5 years, like this. All right. Then I asked, what are you going to do when you go back, when you are released? Then they told very frankly, if there is nothing else for us to do, we have to follow the same. This clearly shows punishment is not the solution to train the human mind. That is why you cannot find religious punishment in Buddhism. No religious punishment whatsoever. We cannot use religion to punish people. The law is there. Law of the country. Religion is not to punish people. Religion is to guide people, educate people, enlighten people. So religion is to allow people to open their mind and think properly. Not to threaten them, not to frighten them, not to punish them, but to understand things properly. This understanding we had to start from childhood. After that, very difficult. When the plant is very young, very easily we can bend to decorate. But when it is very high, like a coconut tree, what will happen if you try to bend, break it? So we cannot change when people are grown up, to change their mentality and their attitude. That's why we have to train our children from childhood to understand these things are wrong, bad, because these things are good and important for your future, for your family, for the whole country. So religion is for that purpose. Now here in this country, in the school, there is no religious education for other religions, only for Muslims. But others, they teach morals. We approach ministry, Prime Minister, Education Ministry, and explain. Morals must come through religion. If you teach morals as a subject, people don't take seriously. They study as one of the subjects in the school curriculum. When we learn morals through religion, then they develop devotion, confidence, understanding. So we handed over a memorandum to the Prime Minister also, explaining all these things. He said he will consider. It is very important. And we explain. More and more young people become drug addicts or gangsters or terrorists because they have no proper moral religious education when they are young. Therefore, every religion, allow our respective religions also to contribute something for the country and the nation to build up, for people to maintain peace and order. So it is very important. Now, take for instance, Sri Lanka. 75% Buddhist, 7% Christian, 7% Muslim, and 12% citizens of the country, Hindus, 12%, only citizens, but there are many others who are not citizens. But every day, radio, television, start 5 minutes for Buddhists, 5 minutes for Christians, 5 minutes for Muslims, 5 minutes for Hindus. Equal religious rights, without any discrimination. So, religion, whatever it may be, it is very important for their followers. So allow them to enrich their knowledge and understanding through their respective religion. Now here what you learn, what the Buddha has said, is very important when such occurrences, incidents take place, for you to make up your mind, to maintain patience or tolerance or understanding, not to become violent, to arrogant attitude. This knowledge is important. Then, examining day by day the wise, praise him who is of flawless life, intelligent, endowed with knowledge and virtues. So those who have cultivated their life by keeping away from bad and wicked and harmful things and developing their knowledge and understanding and dignity are praised by not only human beings, Devas and Brahmas also appreciate and praise. I think you can remember. I repeat these things again and again because there are newcomers. The king of the Deva, just now I mentioned Sakra, he paid respect to human beings. Then his attendants asked, whom are you worshipping? You are the ruler of this kingdom, of this heaven. Then he said, Ye Gahatha, Punyakara, Silavanta, Upasaka, Dhammena Daran Posenti, Tang Namaskramika. I respect those human beings, those who perform meritorious deeds. Now you perform lot of meritorious deeds. Even by listening to this talk, you perform merit, because you concentrate with devotion, understanding, without any ulterior motive, without any selfish idea. It is a meritorious deed. Otherwise, all sorts of rubbish come and disturb your mind, dirty your mind. This is a meritorious deed. Yegahatha Punyakara. Silavanta. Those who observe precepts, 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, principles. Those who uphold their principles, I respect them. Upasaka. Those who have devotion and confidence and lead a noble life, harmless life, called Upasaka. Upasaka is a very good title for Buddhist. Upasaka, Upasika for female. That means a noble, religious, devout person. Upasaka and Upasika. Dhammena Daran Posenti. Those married people who support their family by leading a righteous way of life, respectable way of life, without harming, swindling, cheating, bluffing others. I pay my respect to those human beings. Here you can understand Deva also respect you when you are virtuous, when you are religious, when you are harmless. But we pray, thinking God has more power. This is a belief. When we have fear and worries, we worship to console ourselves. But you do not know, they respect us when we are religious, when we are virtuous. So, this is the important message of the Buddha for all of you to think that always you have to face so many problems and criticisms and accusations and blames, but you should not worry if you are right. If you know you are right, you have to continue your noble work as we continue our work. And great people never surrender their principles for these criticisms. If we can devote our time to serve others, the happiness that we gain, the confidence that we gain by doing that, support us one day to die peacefully, without fear, without worries, without confusion. We can die easily, peacefully, with hopes and confidence because we upheld these good qualities. And those who have violated all these things are scared to die, because they are not sure what will happen to them after they are dead. Because death is not the end. Death is the beginning of another life. And that beginning starts again according to our way of life here. After going there, not so easy to correct, to adjust. We are preparing, we are molding. Every time when we do some meritorious deeds, every time when we do some service to others, support others, when we develop kindness, compassion in our mind, we are molding, preparing our next life. At the same time, when you harm others, when you bluff and swindle others, cheated others, also we are molding in our next life. And again, the same simple repetition I have recited more than 1,000 times. You can remember Buddha saying, we are the result of what we were, we will be the result of what we are. So simple, easy to understand. And by considering this, we had to mold our next existence if we want to exist in this world. You can say, oh, we don't like to exist, but you cannot stop it without preparing for that. Lot of preparations are important if you want to stop this journey. So this is going life after life, we continue until we reach the final goal one day. But this final goal or salvation, we cannot gain from the Buddha, we cannot gain from any God, we cannot gain from any bodhisattvas by praying and worshipping, but by preparing, working for that. We have to work for that. But others can guide us. The Buddhas and other teachers can guide us and tell us what to do, how to reach the final goal, how to find out salvation, how to see the end of all our sufferings and disturbances. They can guide us. Yes, still got few minutes. Oh, there's a photographer also, isn't it? I think better give few minutes for the photographer. Where is he? No, we want to see their faces, not the back. Now, if I come down, here I can easily take with me, because I want to see their faces. This is Evil forces such as anger, jealousy, grudge and ill will and craving and selfishness, by reducing those things, maintain some sort of healthy, calm, pure mind. Then it is called adhichitta. Here Buddha used the word adhichitta, not samadhi. Chitta is mind. Then panya. Panya means realization, a correct understanding, or you can say enlightenment also. But these three things, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morals, mental training, and wisdom. These three qualities you can find in other religions also. That's what I am going to tell you. What is the difference? Now we both, as Buddhists, we have Sila, Samadhi, Panya. That means moral development, mental training, and wisdom. Then others say, why only Buddhists? Christianity also teaches, Hinduism also teaches, and Islam also teaches all these good qualities. Here the Buddha used the word, the word Adi. Adi Sila, Adi Chitta, Adi Panya. This Adi we cannot find in another religion. That is the difference. By observing 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and the monks and nuns precepts, they cultivate morally their religious way of life. Then study whether the followers of other religions also follow the same precepts. Then we can see the Buddhism has gone beyond their limits to observe precepts. That is why some people condemn ascetic way of life. They say they are going to extremes. Then, adhichitta, according to other religions, they do not talk about the development of their mind according to the jhana states. Patamajjhana, Dutiyajjhana, Tatyajjhana, Chaturtajjhana, Akasananjayatana, Vijnananjayatana, Akintanjayatana, Devasanja, Nasanjayatana, 8 stages. So develop the mind up to the higher stage, then attain Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant. So other religions never talk about Sotapanna or Sakadagami or Anagami or Arahant. And the qualities also to attain these stages. That is why we use the Adi Chitta, Adi Sila, then Adi Panya, come to the enlightenment. It is not ordinary knowledge or wisdom. It is complete purity of the mind, knowledge and understanding and wisdom, and all the good qualities. Adipanya, perfection. Attain the highest perfection. Adhichitte cha ayogo. Etam buddhan sasanaya. This is the message of all the Buddhas. So these things of the Buddha is very important. I advise you to read, to get more better ideas, to digest it properly, and to defend or to justify your religious way of life, or to enlighten others also what Buddhism is. This saying of the Buddha is very important. Thank you, sir. You corrected my mistake. You said 2 weeks. They should not take part for 2 weeks. If I were the Buddha, I would say only 1 week, not 2 weeks. Okay. There is a program tomorrow and day after. So sharing on merit. Imina punya dhammena upadhyaya gunuttara acharya upakarate mata pita piyamamam suriyo chandi maharaja Gurvanta narapike Brahma maracha indacha Loko palata devata Yamo mitta manusata Vajjata verita picha Sadve tatta rukihantu पुण्यानि भक्तानि मे सुखं च त्रिविधं दन्तु हिप्पं पापेतो वतं इमिना पुण्यकम्मेन इमिना उद्दिशेन च हिप्पां सुलभेतेव तन्नोपादानचेदनं ये हन्तानि हिराधर्मा यावनिर्वाणतो ममं नक्तन्तु सर्वदा एव यातो भवे भवे उजुचित्तो सतिपन्नो सल्लेखो विर्यवामिना मारालभन्तु लोकासं पातुं च विर्येषु मे बुद्धादिपवरो नाथो धम्मो नाथो अनुत्तमो नाथो पच्चेत सम्बुद्धो सङ्गो नाथो तरो ममं तेजोत्तमानुभावः